IVM. Hello and welcome to an all-new and a very, very special episode of Mr. and Mrs. Binge-Watch. I'm Janice and with me is my husband, Aniruddha. So this
Amitabh
is
Bachchan.
Kash, na Kash. Okay, so this is a really special episode, you guys, because this is the first time that we're going to have a guest on Mr. and Mrs. Binge-Watch. Say hello to the very talented Poorna Jagannathan.
There's a lot of people here.
Are we doing the
lot
clap?
of people
Yes.
clapping.
Okay, we're doing the clap.
Yeah, I should
Just to
totally,
clap.
by the way, audition for radio. I'd be kick-ass. But Poorna, I believe 45 minutes after you landed, you were at a Pani Puri stall.
Yeah, I live next to this Pani Puri store, Elko.
Bombay Wala's, that's Elko Market.
Yeah,
Very
that's-
expensive Pani Puri.
What?
Yeah, it's the most expensive.
60 rupees for 6.
That's ridiculously expensive.
Are you kidding me?
What is
and
this?
you
That's-
don't get sick guaranteed? Are you joke? Come on, guys.
It's very expensive Pani Puri.
I wouldn't mind getting sick if I had to pay $20 less for pani puri.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I
Like, that's
understand.
like a Bombay thing,
No,
right?
I understand that trade-off.
Everything
I'm
has
not
its-
willing to make that trade-off. The
Okay.
projectile vomiting for $20.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
I wouldn't go for the $30 pani puri though, but $40 I would sort of take a risk on.
Look, I think Elko is a great deal. I may be elitist, but I think Elko is a great deal. Now, halfway through we lived in India for 4 years. I think 3.5 years into our stay in Elko, in Bombay, we discovered that Elko delivered Pani Puri. So it went from like,
Do they also come feed you for $60? Like
I know, they
Like
should,
this-
babe, as they should. But we went from Elko being like a twice a week thing to almost an everyday thing.
Okay, but what have you been up to since the time you've been in Bombay?
You know, I haven't been back for 3 years, and that's a really long time. So I haven't seen, I used to hang out at the bagel shop all day.
Hipster.
Hipster, no?
Hipster.
yeah,
super.
very hipster.
It's awful. It's awful.
Though
Or a
I love the
label.
bagel shop. I mean, cream cheese, salmon, bagel. What's not to love?
Yeah, I like
That
the...
I'd pay for.
So the owner, Anil, and I would just sit there all day bitching everyone coming in and going out. Like, it was the weirdest thing. We did that every day for years
Just
and
people
years.
watching,
People bitching.
people bitching.
Yeah.
So we're here
Yeah.
because you've just arrived on episode 5 of Big Little Lies. And you're of course playing the very important role of you're playing the lawyer for Celeste, which is played by Nicole Kidman, in her big sort of custody battle going up against the character of Mary, right? That's the one Meryl Streep plays.
Yeah.
And in the very first scene that we saw you in, you were flanked by these two actors. And was that also the first scene you shot?
The first scene I shot is coming up, but a lot of people, or I've heard of the set is full of people laughing and it's the best set, funny. No, that wasn't my experience. I come into a point of the story that is really hardcore, and you're just getting a taste of it in episode 5. I mean, the set that I was on for
Yeah.
those months was a very, very intense, dark set. And, of course there was lightness, but the subject matter is really, really dark, and what we're dealing with, and the possibility that Celeste will lose her kids. And,
Right.
they're all... I mean, I don't think... there's method acting, and then there's the kind of acting that I saw where you are so completely the character that you've... there's no separation at all.
Right.
And it felt like a documentary. It didn't feel like filming.
Wow. So you're saying that when you went on set, Meryl Streep is Mary and Nicole Kidman's Celeste. That's what they were like when you're shooting with them.
Yeah.
Wow. That's,
Yeah, all of them.
I
But I would-
hate Mary. I mean, I've grown to really,
I
really think of her as
I
this-
want the Monterey Five to throw her down the steps
You know what was
at the end of
really
this
interesting
season.
for me, which is how much Meryl Streep protected her character. Every actor knows this, that, every actor plays a villain, knows that you can never play your character as a villain.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
You have to play your character from a place where...
You believe that the character is
yeah,
doing
yeah,
the
yeah.
right
Everything
things.
is justified, yeah.
Right? And so it was because of the particular writing and because you love these women so much, the Monterey Five, and you root for them. And I saw how actively Meryl Streep would protect her character in the decisions she made, in the conversations she would have, in the interaction she would have. I was particularly struck with, there was someone who said something about her I was asking her something about her character, and she was like, "That's none of your business. That's my world."
Wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to be around Meryl when she's being married.
She's lovely because she's a lovely grandmother. She's just in a
lovely.
position.
She'll have tea with you. She'll just not think you're a particularly great human being. That's
And she'll let you know that.
Yeah.
But listen, I would never imagine that any set of Big Little Lies on any day could have people laughing on it. Like, I mean, look, it's been a really intense show.
That's not true. I
Through
would
and
imagine
through, right?
when they're making fun of the principal.
Oh my God! First of all, there's so much improv on that set, and they have so much fun. Apparently,
Not on the days you were
not
shooting.
on the months that I was present. Apparently, it's a great set, and the women have grown up with each other. When I spoke to Laura Dern, I was asking her when she started. I mean, I started at 33. Like I started really late. Laura
Right.
was like, "Well, my parents were artists, and I started at 7, and Free started at 12. I mean, they've grown up together. And even when they sit around a table, like before a scene, they'll be talking about stuff that's ancient, meaning they have ancient history.
Right.
They have history. Like Nicole and Meryl were in the Hours together.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like they have
And
been
both were
at it.
nominated, I think. Or at least one of them was. Well, Meryl Streep gets nominated for everything she's
Yeah,
in.
that's
so,
just a given. We'll just,
Yeah.
But I remember sitting, next to Nicole, and I distinctly remember her in one of our conversations saying that she hadn't felt this subsumed by a character since The Hours. And when you see The Hours and you see her play Virginia Woolf, there's a particular quality of a transcendence that you pick up on. You don't know, you sometimes cannot pick up on what it is that makes a performance so magnetic, but it's there, and that's what Nicole is with Celeste. They're merged. They're same people.
Tell me, when you come in to a show like this, which
Yeah.
has already been winning rave reviews across
Yeah,
the
yeah.
world, it's started all kinds of really relevant conversations.
Yes.
And then you get to know that you've been cast for this role.
Yeah.
And you're going to be doing your scenes with Nicole Kidman, with Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Legends in their own way.
Yeah.
What kind of pressure does that put on you as an actor?
I mean, I think I was in physical therapy for a while because my shoulders were like this for a very long time, like scrunched up. I mean, first of all, everything feels intense. Like the scripts you get are on a timer, right? Like if you don't read them by a certain time, they expire. And if you get to the end, they get destroyed. Like everything is like a f***ing time bomb,
It's,
right?
it's like Mission Impossible, right? It's like you're Ethan Hunt and you've just got your next mission and then it just self-combusts.
This script
And
will destruct
then-
in 5,
Yeah.
4, 3, 2.
You know,
And then
but I
because,
don't know if you, I'm sorry,
go
I
ahead.
don't know if you watched the documentary that was made on the Game of Thrones final season. And there was this entire table reading that happened between all the characters. At the end of which, they shredded each and every script, even before the actors sort of could even leave the room. I don't think they were given the scripts beforehand. They got it
No, I know.
at the table read, they read it, and then they were shredded.
They weren't given because they were crying and they were realizing what's happening to their characters.
Right, and that was the joy of watching the documentary, right? They were literally reacting to the scenes for the first time the way audiences did.
I mean, I'll give you a crazy story, which I just remembered as you're saying that. So, first of all, the pressure is on. I mean, the pressure is just on, right? And then on top of it, there's a table read with every
yeah, which is like,
single person. And usually I try not to go for table reads because I'm convinced I'm going to get fired at a table read. Like, I'm just convinced. So the trick is with actors, you just say you're
not available.
or you're flying somewhere, or you just lie and get out of a table read because everyone's paranoid about getting fired, right? But
Does that happen?
what do you
get fired after
You do.
after a bad table read?
You do.
Oh, really?
Oh.
So, for the table read, we were at Monterey, and, I had just been not only immersed in Big Little Lies, I had been immersed with Nicole Kidman's work for a very long time, just trying to understand her entire body of work and who I was about to meet and everything. So I open my mouth and say my first line. And I haven't spoken to anyone for 3 days at this point, right? Because I'm just in my room and I'm...
Sure.
Yeah. And it comes out with an Australian accent. And everyone stops and looks at me. And I cannot get rid of it. Like, it's not going anywhere. I cannot put a
so
cap on it.
So you watched Cold Mountain just the night before?
I had seen all her work from Australia. Like, ever since she, like, her first home video, I just saw everything about her. And I have a tendency, because as a kid, I traveled a lot. We lived in, 7 different countries. And my first instinct is to pick up on accents, to have a sense of belonging. So I spoke with an Australian accent for almost the entire table read.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that sounded like? Like, can you give us a sample?
I can't because
you can't do it now.
It's like, I don't have this accent when I live in the States. Like, this is a very contextual, a little more Indianized accent. This is not my accent.
But I'm really fascinated by the fact that a table read that probably had Meryl Streep and Laura Dern.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman was the one you were fixated on. Well, is that because you had all your scenes with her and so you had to get to know the character?
I'm Nicole Kidman's lawyer.
Right.
Yeah. My research was a lot of my character as a lawyer. So I went down to the family. I'll tell you about that. But I went down to family court. Sure. But 50% was on Nicole Kidman, right?
Yeah.
Like, who is she? And I saw all her work and all her interviews and how she is and everything.
But was that particularly for this role? I want to ask you 2 questions first. What happened at the end of that table read with your Australian accent? And how did you not get fired if you had an Australian accent?
I know I do this, and the worst thing I can do is meet a British person, because then I have a British, I think it's awful, right? I hate doing it, and I can see my words morphing, and I use words like bollocks, and it's awful. I hate myself, right? It just comes out. I was mortified. I couldn't stop it. It was my accent. It was what it is.
And then if you realized and broke out of it, then
I couldn't break out.
Then you were breaking the consistency of the character, right?
Continuity
so now you were stuck
ruined.
with it.
It was awful. And then Meryl was to my right, and oh my God, when you're young and have you guys had corporate jobs?
Yeah, we've both been corporate slaves.
We did at one point of time, yeah, but not for.
So I remember being in advertising in my 20s, hardcore corporate, and I'm surrounded by really big wigs all the time, and the meeting's going on, and you have nothing to contribute. You just have nothing to say, and then you say, I need to say something. It's 20 minutes left. I need to say something. It's 10 minutes left. I need to say something. It's fine. And you just have nothing to contribute, right? That's what I felt like shooting. What? Just overwhelmed.
Imagine if you did the Apu accent by mistake. That would have been
that would have worked when you were doing more Bollywood auditions, possibly. Okay. No, but okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you, so we were talking about you sort of obsessively studied Nicole Kidman. Mm-hmm. But is that something you do when you know you're going to have a lot of scenes with a particular actor? Is that generally homework on most roles, or this one was special?
For sure, the amount of work that I put in for this role is different from anything else. And when I got to set, I realized I'd hardly put in anything, because the level of preparation that these women come with are
sure.
It's I actually should have gone to law school and gotten 2 degrees. That's the only thing you can come up with. Yeah. There's improv on set, so they would ask me something legal, and I'd what the am I going to say? Plead the fifth? That's the only legal term I know, what am I going to say?
This is terrible. We've watched so much American legal shows that it's we feel like we know the American legal system.
Have you watched The Good Wife?
We know the American...
No, I know. So and I watch SVU all the time, right?
Correct, yeah. Special Victims Unit.
Yeah. So, so it's... Because there's improv, there's, you're just up against, it's a cluster.
No, it's funny when you said plead the fifth. We joke about it amongst ourselves because we say words like plead the fifth just because we've watched, we've had a crazy good fight session over the past 1 week, and then we're just using,
when we were binge watching The Good Wife, I started to feel like I know more about the American legal system than I do about our own damn
But that's true right now as well. Janice, we continue to watch American legal shows all the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Netflix, for educating us. Thank you, OTT platforms, for just bombarding us with this shit.
I feel like I do too.
There's a valid reason for you live there.
Yeah.
You mix so fine.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, look, so The Night Of obviously came out less than a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And, you won huge acclaim for playing the protagonist's mother, Safar. And would you say that in a sense, the role kind of changed the perspective of how American TV networks look at you, or producers and show creators?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, my career changed after that.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. The Night Of doesn't have a lot of... So it's a fantastic show, and it's a very scary show, and it's a very well-done show, but there's not one particular character that carries the emotion of the show. And so a lot of people put it on the mother, even though I don't really have massive breakdowns or massive whatever. The figure of the mother got a lot of the... People placed a lot on it, which is good.
Yeah,
because you get seen... after a show like that, you probably will see a career change.
No, it makes sense, because you're right. The character was the emotional backbone of the show, in a sense. But I mean, more in sense of, are you now getting better parts to audition for? Or?
I'm not scared of saying no anymore.
Okay.
I think that's the real shift.
I actually wanted to ask you this.
And I'll put that in with a story, which is I was invited to audition before for Big Little Lies season 2, and it's my favorite show. I'm obsessed with it. Oh my God, any part. But it was the role of a doctor, and it was a recurring role. There were multiple episodes, and I declined the audition because I don't want to play a doctor anymore, even though it was for my favorite show. So you
also played one on Better Call Saul.
Yes.
For a brief period. That's a show I love.
Loved.
Yeah, there was a great sequence that you had with Salamanca, the Salamanca character, right?
Yeah, I love that. So that was like, that doctor role. I really cherish that.
Yeah, but that kind of a doctor role only exists in a Vince Gilligan world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, which is that trippy and it's that sort of weird in a sense. And
yeah. I mean, and the thinking behind that doctor role is what really got me, which is the twins are not going to react unless they're shocked out of their, killing stupor. So when you come in and they think you're one thing and you turn around and
just
you
shut
start
them up,
speaking in Spanish and complete handle over medical care in Spanish and all that, then that's when they're going to pay attention. They're like, oh, wait, this is something new. And so that was the thinking behind writing the character as a doctor who doesn't look like she speaks Spanish.
So that's what actually sort of, race-blind auditioning or race-blind casting.
Yeah.
Now we know, because there's so much awareness that's been created about how networks have to follow some sort of a diversity clause when they're casting for multiple shows, for films. But tell me, when you're sort of in the waiting room for a casting call of that nature, what does race-blind casting actually fully mean? And who do you see in like an audition like that?
Look, I am in a film called Cher, which is very, very dear to me. It's my favorite movie the process of filming it has been my favorite. The script has been my favorite, the outcome. And when that was I don't know if it was race blind, but the lead actress was found. She's a beautiful, talented girl called Rianne Barreto. And she is half Indian and half Caucasian. She's British. And because she had some hint of color, they were looking for any combination of parents. So there was Hispanic mom, there was a black dad, there's Indian dad. Like, they were looking for anything that makes sense.
Correct.
So when you're in a casting room like that, that's quite, it's amazing to see, right? Like, you see all different types of actors go in for that. In this case, for Big Little Lies, when I went to the audition room, there were 2 Caucasian women waiting to go in.
Sure.
But I think it's a role that really could they could go diverse. It's hard to go diverse on that show because the family has been established, right?
Right.
I mean, they could have on season 1, of course, but in season 2, it's already. So I think they really had, the casting director is awesome, David Rubin, but they had a dictate to really think outside the box when it came to the roles, that could afford.
In fact, race-blind race-blind casting has also come under some amount of criticism, right? Because now what's also happening is that because earlier there were certain roles that were meant for a certain type or a certain race possibly, and now the argument is that with the race-blind casting, maybe Caucasians walk away with even more roles than before. Do you find that to be true, or do you sort of feel like now it's all about ensuring that there is representation, ensuring that there is diversity in all?
Look, I have moved my focus from in front of the camera, which we were so obsessed with, and I think we're really winning the battle on that. I don't know if you guys are seeing Ramy at all. Are you guys seeing Ramy?
We've heard great things, but Hulu,
unfortunately, Hulu's not streaming in India yet.
Right.
But I hope one of our networks, pick it up and syndicate it.
Anyway,
But we believe. We read the reviews have been great,
and the Rotten Tomatoes ratings, and
it's the best show I've ever been part of or seen. But the statistic at Netflix was there's only 4% of African American executives there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you have to think about, we all are of a certain background, and what are the stories that call us? What are the stories that are within us? How did we grow up? And if you're letting them tell your story, there's going to be a disconnect.
Of course.
Because they have nothing to do with your story.
Right.
So I think my focus much more, and the people that I see making a massive dent in the industry are people like Ramy, who talks about what does it mean to be Egyptian American millennial who's practicing Islam and loves porn and loves and we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
And Aziz and Mindy with her show and her movie are so.
Or even Hassan Minhaj for that matter.
Hassan
with his comedy.
And Riz is coming out with new content.
Yeah.
Superwoman.
That's it. That's really it. Like, who are the content producers?
Right.
Who are the writers? And so I'm looking behind the curtain to see who's generating the stories. And, even for women, there was always men writing our stories. And so with what Nicole and Reese are doing and their production houses, things are flipping. For women and women of different ages.
But what I want to know is that while there will be great roles coming your way due to your cultural background, and Night Of is a great example of that, right? And now you're telling us about Ramy, which we'll surely check out.
Yeah.
But what the beauty of the role that you're playing on Big Little Lies, like you said, is that it could have been played by anyone, right? It's not a cultural specific role.
Yeah.
Is that harder to find? And
that's the biggest change.
Right.
That I am playing roles that don't have Indian names anymore.
Right.
That's huge.
Right. But and
like this one's called Katie.
Yeah. And I've been doing that for now a couple of years.
And that sort of opens up your choices, right? Then you just have to choose from a wide array of roles, right? Or
that's it.
That's
it. Yeah. Before, what they would only see you for is the Indian-specific roles.
Right.
That's how, then that would be very limited, and, it'd be the same thing. And that's so frustrating because it's all of us going in for, one role.
And would that also be, would they also sort of expect you to sound more Indian? Because that can be
I've
seen
never
in some...
had that. I just haven't. I do. I really do try and bring an Indian accent in whenever I can, because in America, the Indian accent has been made so much fun of.
Yeah.
So how do you...
Apu being our biggest sort of,
That's it.
Yeah.
But I think also because these are characters based in America at the end of the day, right? I think if she was playing an Indian character from India, then the accent would have to be specifically Indian,
I still
right?
change
I'll
that.
give you an example, right?
Yeah.
So I'm finally catching up on Daredevil season 3, and there's Agent Nadeem, who's actually one of the crucial characters this season. He's Indian, and he and his wife are talking in Hindi, and I kid you not, I could not understand a single word. If there were no subtitles on the screen, I would not have understood what they're saying.
Yeah, so the spoken Hindi on American shows is atrocious. I've always felt that.
Terrible.
Because a lot of times what happens is that they are actors of Indian origin but they don't necessarily speak the language.
So
but
it's
then they are
almost
made
like you're
to speak the
feeding
language,
lines.
and then they just sound really weird and funny, and it gets really annoying. So every time they get the accent right, it's a real high because you feel good about it.
So that's why I will, even if the character is not Indian, but I get cast, I will try and figure out how to bring something, because it's so important. That aspect is really important for me. I think, we don't realize, but I was listening to the Greek politicians speaking. They have such everyone has in Europe has such a heavy accent.
Right, of course.
And no one makes fun of them. And I think we've been made fun of for so many centuries that we ourselves, it's so destructive. So, how do we present ourselves?
How do you maintain that balance where you sort of are still, you're representing one culture, but you're also not trying to alienate another by sounding completely maybe different in that sense?
Yeah, or how do you step into one culture and bring a little bit of who you are into the role?
But I guess the Americanization of accents has been going on for a while, right? They've done it with the Russians earlier.
You go to Kolaba, everyone there talks with some strange accent.
Right.
Even in Bandra.
Right.
Bandra, which is I don't know where is that English coming from? How are you getting that accent?
Is there a South Asian actor you've often been mistaken for?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I was at Sundance this year, and basically before any movie or whatever, there are these people who have printed out your pictures and make you sign them, and then they sell them.
Oh, no.
Right?
You're seeing your picture on eBay.
The stacks of Indra Verma pictures.
What did I tell you?
So
I was waiting for you to tell me who that actor is and then ask you if even Indra Verma is one of them.
the stacks. And I sign each one of them with not me. Definitely not me.
Sure, that was me. Totally me.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
No, but
And
then your
I will get
filmography gets
mistaken.
so much cooler, right? Because you've got Night Of and Big Little Lies, but
totally.
you also have Luther and all
Game
those
of
other
Thrones.
shows.
Game
that
of
show.
Thrones.
Of course.
Do
yeah.
not correct people.
Yeah.
I do not bother correcting people. I'm like, yep.
So this is so funny. We were writing some of these questions down last night, and when we wrote down this question, he was like, "I'm so sure she's going to say Indira Verma,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Okay, you were right, clearly."
Yeah.
Okay, I also want to ask you, when you talk about
And then my best friend is Sarita Chowdhury.
who we just saw on
A bunch of stuff.
On a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
actually.
but
Love
she
Sarita.
and Indra were in Kama Sutra together.
Yes.
So people just assume we've had
See,
a lesbian relationship.
you don't have to tell that to 90s kids. Of course, we knew they were in Kama Sutra.
Yeah. All I'm saying
I'm
is
hoping Gen Z and millennials are tuning in as well.
When people see us together, they just assume we're just Kama Sutra.
Oh, nice.
So
Like,
that means you're getting free shots at every bar that you guys go to together. They're like,
or offers for porn, something like that. But that's what people they just assume Kama Sutra.
Indra
connection.
Verma and Sarita Chaudhary were in Kama Sutra together, and it's like this fact, but it hasn't completely registered in a certain way.
Yeah, so we get that
no, I'm now
all
seeing,
the time.
I'm seeing Sarita
we were
and you. So this is really strange things happening in my mind. I don't know why.
So
I'm going there.
we had this chat because we were watching Jessica Jones recently.
Oh yeah, she's in it. Yeah.
And they brought her in as the love interest played by Carrie-Anne Moss, who plays Jerry Hogarth. And I was like, I hope Kama Sutra did not play a part in her getting. It's like
I hope it did.
Then that's also...
Isn't that like a form of getting typecast in a certain kind of a role?
Look, I am. So for Ramy, I met Ramy at an event, and he was emceeing it. And
Sure.
I don't know if you've ever. Of course you have, but MCs are just usually awful, right? It's just awful. And here was this MC who was cracking. The Night Off was getting an award at this event, and Ramy was so funny. It was ridiculous, right? He's a really funny guy. And then we spoke later on. We got along like a house on fire. He's a kid, and then he was like, "I'm gonna write us something." And I said to Ramy, "If you write us something, I'm not playing your mom. I'm not playing your auntie. I want to be funny and I want to so you figure it out, right?" And it's also because us South Asian women are not portrayed as sexual beings and not portrayed
Even on
as
American
funny.
shows?
No, only Sarita Chowdhury is.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I've seen Sarita Chaudhary in intense sexual scenes.
She was also with Saul
on
Berenson.
Homeland with Saul
yeah.
Berenson.
I am-
And she cheated on Saul.
Yeah, she did.
With a man.
Yeah,
that
so basically
time.
Sarita gets all like the amazing sexuality,
stuff.
and we're like performing cardiology or heart
Listen,
surgery.
I don't think
or
Aziz
You are a
Ansari would want to
I'm
have
Dr.
sex
Who.
on screen for a while now. All right, let's get that straight.
Ooh, I didn't.
But you know what was amazing about Crazy Rich Asians was, of course, it was great. But like Asian men as like hot sexual beings when they have been like the typecast in America as the nerds for so long.
You know, it's so
Stuff
great that
like
you brought
that.
up Crazy Rich Asians
Yeah.
because Mindy Kaling and Priyanka Chopra have gotten together, and they have their script. Apparently, studios had a bidding war to get the rights to that script.
Hey, Mindy Kaling played an sort of over-sexual character on The Office.
Yeah,
she was overtly sexual.
I like that's how the theme.
I think she was the most sexual character on the show after
So
Michael.
Awesome.
She's awesome in every way, guys. I mean, if you go check out her latest Instagram post, she wore a bikini. She's like, you don't care about your body size. You do you.
Yeah.
But coming
Yeah.
to my question about the bidding war and
Yeah.
writing for yourself and creating stories that sort of represent who you are,
Yes.
is that something that you're now planning on doing? Because
Yes.
you want to tell your own story. You
Yeah.
want to represent who you are, right?
Yeah, 100%. And obviously I need to stop talking and need to stop bitching. I need to stop talking about diversity and representation in the form. I don't just shut up and write your own stuff because there's enough people who want that kind of content. And if you're not doing it, then shut up.
No, and it's the best time to do it right now.
It's an amazing time.
I mean, all the best shows that are coming out
Yeah.
currently, whether it's in Atlanta or whether it's comedians telling stories about comedians through a show like Crashing.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's writing stuff about themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like it's almost like you're writing your own. I mean, self-referential, and what is that term I'm looking for? Not biographical, but almost biographical. Sort
Yeah.
of telling your
Yeah.
story on the big screen.
Yeah, it's a great time to tell your story. And all the resources are available. But, because of the whole web situation, I'm like, holy shit, when is Zoya going to call me? Like, I loved Made in Heaven.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Loved Made in
Yeah.
Heaven. And thought it dealt with homosexuality in a
Beautifully.
really honest...
We spoke about it
You
earlier
did?
on our podcast.
I mean, we've never seen sex scenes.
I mean, I haven't seen them in
Between two men.
America.
Yeah, so and
Yeah.
not with a voyeuristic gaze, just a very matter of fact, this is how it happens.
No, and I love that they had a gay protagonist, and the fact that he was gay was not just a character quirk, right?
Yeah.
It's not just one, sort of
Yeah.
gay character, and you're not trying to make news out of it
Yeah.
or use his
Yeah.
being gay as anything more than a plot device. It was integral to his identity, to
That's
who
it.
he was,
That's it.
to the story. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
we loved. Did you watch Delhi Crime by
I
any
did. I
chance?
love Delhi Crime as well. Really close to my
Favorite
heart.
Indian show so far.
Yeah.
Favorite, because it it gets all the beats right.
Yeah, I would
So
pick
good.
Telecrime as my favorite web series, Indian web series,
With
with Made in Heaven and a
coming
close second.
Yeah, for me, it's both of them for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Poorna, so before we wrap up this segment, what are we going to see you in next?
As soon as I get back, I start shooting the new Mindy Kaling, Lang Fisher project.
Congratulations,
Thank
the announcement just came
you.
out.
It is an outrageously funny and vulnerable comedy, and it is about a 15-year-old girl called Devi Krishnan, and she's Indian and ambitious and very smart and just trying to fit in as best she can into high school and dealing with what it means to be wanting to belong and yet being an outsider like a lot of us are, and just how do you be popular and how do you get laid and how do you just how do you figure it out? And I play Devi's mom, very, very hilarious mom. And, again, Mindy just has a way of weaving in beautiful vulnerability and comedy into her characters. And this is no exception.
Oh, that's amazing. When's it out?
I don't
next
know when
year?
it's out, but we shoot probably till November. So yeah, definitely 2020.
Does it meet your criteria of I've got to be hilarious, I get to and I get to be irreverent?
So you're a mom who gets laid, hopefully?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I always.
That's
I
how the
hope
baby
so.
happened.
Yeah. I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I
And listen,
hope
we
so.
need to find a way to procure Ramy, even if it's through illegal means, and watch it.
I
Yeah.
like
I
how
would
we're just saying it in front of the
highly
actor.
recommend it.
Yeah, we do it all the time. So,
I would highly recommend it.
Third
It's really
world
one of
country
the
problems.
most brilliant shows. And what they Mindy's her template was much more Barry and that kind of comedy
really?
zone. So it's built that way. It's not the tick, 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 tick comedy of the even the Mindy Project has. The Mindy Project has
because
a pace.
it was a network show.
Yes.
And now, I mean, that's what a Netflix has allowed you to do, right? You can
That's
break
it.
out of that, which is why a show like Barry or even a Transparent on Amazon and all these comedies that are coming out,
That's it.
they're not strictly comedies, right?
Yeah.
They have this light
they
vein,
deal
but they're
with
telling
so many other
great stories.
issues.
And Barry is a show we love. I mean, it's like a great dark
So
comedy.
I think their template was much more Barry than anything else.
Nice.
And so the show is written beautifully, and it is my first. I've done a lot of comedy, but it is my first, mainstream. I guess Netflix is mainstream, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, Netflix is
it's
way
as
more mainstream.
as it gets.
Everything else is non-mainstream now.
It's true, man. But I'm excited. It's what I really, really want to do for a very long time.
Awesome. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break. And on the other side, we're going to grill Poorna about her TV watching habits.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you are not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Do remember that if you enjoy what you're listening to, take a screenshot, tag us on social media, and we'll repost you on one of the platforms. Also, just, shout out if you want to tell us anything about what's going on. Also, a quick reminder, we are still hiring. We're hiring in a whole bunch of different areas. If you're looking to work at what I believe is the best place on earth to work at, then you should check out our careers page. That's at ivmpodcast.com/careers. On Cyrus Says, journalist and news editor Maruk Inayat talks to Cyrus about the diminishing opposition in the parliament, her journey from growing up in Kashmir to studying at Harvard, her experience reporting 2611, and her podcast, The Note with Maruk Inayat. That's on the IVM Podcast Network. On Paperback, Racheta and Satyajit are joined by film critic Sucharita Tyagi, who discusses the role that film reviews play and the books adapted into films. On Keeping It Queer, Naveen and Farah talk to the queer affirmative therapists from the Sahas Therapy Group, Advaita and Jagruti, about mental health in queer spaces. On the Pragati podcast, Pawan is joined by Takshashila fellow Amaya Nayak to talk about the United Nations and its role in global governance. On States of Anarchy, Hamsani's guest is author Manu Pillai. They discuss communal relations and the intersection of the foreign and domestic in Indian history. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik is joined by strategy consultant Mohit Hira. They talk about the evolving brand-consumer relationship and how the concept of airy tales came into being. On IVM Likes, staffers Abbas Saishri and our newest producer Shlok are discussing the Indian version of The Office. I think you'll enjoy that. On the Habit Coach podcast, Ashlyn talks to one of the finest pastry chefs of India, Pooja Dhingra, where they discuss various entrepreneurial habits. On Equity Sahiye, Shrey Lunkar, Senior VP, and Ashish Somaya, CEO at Motilal Oswal AMC, talk to Anupam about the company's investment philosophy, how do you identify stocks, and a whole lot more. And with that, let's continue on with your show.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Mr. and Mrs. Binge-Watch. So, Poorna, of course, you've realized that Aniruddha and I are husband and wife.
Yes.
And like most TV watching husband and wives, we have some weird television habits that we share, right? The fact that we have to watch most of the shows together. We sort of feel like we're almost cheating on each other if we watch an episode without the other person. Tell me, do you and your husband, or do you and any other members of your family share such peculiar habits?
Yeah, we do. So as a family, we'll have dinner at 7, and by 8 o'clock, we're all in bed together. My husband, me in the middle, and my son. And we will watch either The Office together or we'll watch Law and Order SVU.
All right. So you want to watch that sort of comfort viewing shows that you know what you're in for, and
Probably.
How have you not run out of... I mean, are you rewatching The
But
Office?
listen,
Because it's one of our favorite shows. Like, we love The Office.
Oh my God, absolutely.
so we keep
rewatching.
rewatching episodes from The Office.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, and they always feel fresh. And
I think they've gotten better with time. I think watching them the second time makes them
I
work
do too.
better.
I mean, and my son is 13, right? So we gotta find,
reintroducing him to all the great stuff. Huh?
That's it. That's
Nice,
it.
nice,
and then
nice.
he's obsessed with SVU. So we'll
Though
watch that.
SVU has, in the last few seasons, got a little repetitive, tiring.
Listen,
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
love
of course it has.
We love it.
I mean, how many episodes
Listen,
can you
Poorna is
make?
getting really defensive about SVU. I don't think we should push this conversation
I
too
am
far.
so in love with SVU. I'm a bit like repetitive. No, repeat it.
More SVU.
More SVU. I'm on season 21.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
can't, like, for a show to have 21 seasons now in itself is bizarre,
So
right?
the two shows we rewatch, or at
Yeah.
least I do,
Yeah.
apart from The Office, which both of us do.
Yeah.
The one I rewatch the most is The West Wing.
Of course.
So, yeah, it'd be nice if you would introduce a 13-year-old to something like a Western.
Well, you know,
as
I introduced my 13-year-old to Delhi Belly this year. And
English, Hindi version both?
No, why Hindi version?
Just English version.
wouldn't
Hindi
just-
version to
Yeah.
learn Indian bad words.
No,
Let's be
the
clear.
English
but the English version has Lodu.
100%.
I like how you said also wrong.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so you
No,
got us
he says Lodu. That's the humor. Where he says Lodu and the whole theatre laughed because Vijay Raj said Lodu. What's wrong with you? I mean,
It's awesome.
it's the way he says it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's classic. We skip through a lot of the parts, of course, but my
like
husband
that
and
kiss when you get in the car is moving.
Listen,
and
that
it's
was that
moving.
kiss was
That was
vanilla.
all right.
That
That was all
that
right.
hotel room scene, I think, would
Yeah.
be the fake sort of.
But when you're watching it with your kid,
yeah.
like, I mean, but has he seen enough of like the work that you do now to be very used to, like very blasé about, oh, mom's having like a long kissing sequence
No,
on screen.
he's not blasé about that stuff at all.
Yeah.
No, he's
The-
like,
also
that's
he has
just
friends,
disgusting.
Janice, who might be
Yeah.
watching the same shows.
Oh yeah, there's a scene in Ramy, and you know, there's his friends.
And it's on Netflix, so it's not like
It's on Hulu.
Oh, it's on Hulu. But again, it's on a streaming service,
Yeah,
so it's not tough to procure.
everyone's on it. But you know, we watch as a family. When I go on planes, that's when I will binge watch stuff. But Barry was unbelievable. Amazon, I came to very late. We just got a subscription, so Transparent was phenomenal
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me. Killing Eve.
Ooh, Killing Eve.
Oh, so good. And it has the bad guy from Delhi Belly.
Yeah,
Kim Bodnia.
So Kim Bodnia is also
Love him.
so when we saw Kim Bodnia
Yeah.
first was
Yeah.
on a show called The Brawn.
Yeah, of course.
Which is a Scandinavian drama, right?
Again,
which you've seen.
brilliant show.
So
Brilliant.
I
Brilliant.
watched all of Brawn
Yeah.
with Janice,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I have seen this f***ing actor in
Yeah,
some
yeah. Where,
film,
where?
and I just could not place him.
Yeah.
And then we were just, I mean, not now. We were just going through Delhi Belly. Maybe it was on TV or a
Yeah.
song came
Yeah,
on. I'm like,
yeah.
that's f***ing Kim Bodnia.
Kim,
So when we saw
yeah.
Killing Eve, we are like, hey, the Delhi Belly
Yeah.
actor.
I love seeing him.
Do you know the story of Kim Bodnia being cast on Delhi Belly?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were really.
I don't
yeah,
know.
you got to
You
tell
gotta
us.
tell us.
Oh, just look. Akshad's a genius, right? So Akshad had seen Kim
Fuck,
in
Akshay should write like a really cool series.
He is going to write a really cool
Wait,
series.
Kim Bodnia's story.
No,
How
no,
so?
he had seen Kim in something. He'd been obsessed with Kim. This is before anyone was obsessed with Kim. And he was like, we're going to cast Kim. So that's it. Kim was one of the first people he knew. He wrote the part for Kim.
Lovely.
Yeah. And
Hopefully
Kim
someday
read it
Kim
and-
Bodnia will come to India with a show, and then we'll get to talk to him about being cast in Delhi Belly.
Oh, yeah. He had a great time,
That's what,
man.
that's what we're doing
Like
with
those
Poorna,
Indian
right?
goons beating him up. He's just like this
But
is
that's what
very
Poorna
good.
and Kim Bodnia have in common, right? They're both international actors who have their one Indian film that they're known
Hey,
for.
she's got two, okay? Very, very big
Yes,
hit.
yes, I'm
Mujawani.
aware of that cameo as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so
you know, I just
your
realized-
TV. I mean, your TV. Sorry, yeah.
You know, I just realized both the films, she's only chosen to do 2 Hindi films, and they've both been bloody hits.
And they
Huge
both had
hits,
Kunal
yeah?
Rai Kapoor in them.
See, maybe
They did.
They did, yeah, they did.
I love Kunal. He's a good guy.
But so I mean, apart from SVU and The Office,
Yeah.
So you're watching all this. Is there a show you watched recently that you just completely fell in love with?
Oh, you know what? I didn't talk about it because it's a really hard show for me to talk about. But I saw When They See Us on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
it's. I mean, I could only watch that show in increments of 7 minutes.
So
It's
we
one of the
haven't
big
got around to
reasons
watching
we're
it
not
so
watching
far.
it.
Is because we didn't want to watch something as intense right now. So it's like we need to be in that frame of. So watching The Keepers on Netflix had a real sort of impact
Yeah,
on us, right?
yeah,
Because
it
it was,
does.
and we watched Dark recently, which is this really complicated.
Dark is not intense. Dark is just
Yeah,
fucking
but-
complicated.
But hey, I f***ing love Dark,
Yeah,
alright? So
yeah.
stop going after Dark week after week. But Dark really takes a toll on you is what I meant.
Yeah. This is
And-
beyond. Like I've never experienced anything like this. Even when I watch a documentary. I mean, I'm a huge documentary
Yeah, same.
watcher, and that's why The Keepers was. But when I was watching The Keepers, I was like glued. I was like, oh my god, wow! I was glued to it, and I was empowered by it, and I was happy with it.
Yeah.
And then When They See Us was. It's
Shattering from.
I haven't seen, and it's not a documentary. That's the crazy part. It's a show, and it really, really tears you apart. And I have never stopped a show in the middle of it. I have never stopped a show, and I took about a week to get through that.
Wow.
So
I mean, it's probably the same reasons why we haven't actually gotten around to, because it's been on our must-watch list for a very long time.
Yeah.
But we're constantly like, oh God, don't know if we're ready for it. Maybe it's too intense. Maybe next week. And we just keep putting it off.
The only thing I kept thinking about is that because I've never stopped a show, and I've never not wanted to watch a show. You'll see what I mean.
Oh, we do that all the time though. Just stop watching shows midway because
No, I do, but
so much content available.
Stop watching the show because
for this reason,
for very different reasons. And at the end of the day, you owe it to them, and you owe it to yourself. You owe it to you're expanding your own understanding of what racism still looks like. We are Indian and we're very privileged.
No, absolutely,
in America, we do not, even though we are put in the minority category, really understand what that really means in terms of the history of slavery that African Americans come from. We don't understand that aspect of it. So I don't know. It really opened my eyes to the fact that I don't know
half of the struggle.
Don't know the struggle.
Yeah,
and I have to know the struggle.
Because we're a country that isn't used to watching a lot of intense stuff, a lot of Indians felt that way about Delhi crime as well. But of course, I mean, if you're used to watching shows like The Keepers and other American shows, it's a little easier for you to digest it.
Oh, yeah.
But
I'm definitely
I had a
drawn
lot
to
of
that.
girlfriends who just skipped
But a
through
lot
Delhi
of
crime
Indian
or
audiences
didn't watch it purely because they were like, they sort of went in thinking that they're going to show us graphic details of what
especially the
happened to
first
her.
episode, because it's when it gets into the incident. And it shows the incident as it unfolded.
Yeah.
So a lot of Indians haven't really gotten around to watching Delhi crime. But did you feel that kind of cringe even while you were watching Delhi crime?
Because
love
at heart,
watching
it's a
Delhi crime.
procedural. It's not, I mean, there's, you know what I mean? I'm saying they're dealing with the case. But essentially they're dealing with how they caught the, how they caught the suspects.
No, I didn't. What I felt when I saw I'm drawn to very, very, very dark material. I'm drawn to dark documentary. I'm drawn to the world of India. I'm drawn.
Right.
When They See Us is different. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but it is transformative, and you will come out a different person. You come out of your own psyche will be shaken, and it will shift.
I'm excited. I think we need to sort of get down to watching it.
I think this is the Mr. and Mrs. Binge-Watch part of it, where Poorna has come in and recommended something that we need to really badly watch.
No, thank you. We've actually, I think, been waiting for someone to push us to just say, no, just go watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, because you spoke about The Office and you talked about it as a show that you and your family watch together, have to ask, right? Favorite Office character? And we're very judgmental about this.
Oh, I actually
Pick the right one, Poorna.
Pick the right one.
Pick the right one.
Mindy.
Kelly Kapoor.
We're very, very smart. That's a
Thank
very
you.
smart
But
answer.
that's a bit of a
Thank you.
biased answer.
That's a biased
right?
answer.
Thank you. Just sucking up to my new boss here.
Listen, Mindy isn't tuned into our podcast. All right, I wish she
how
was.
Amazing that would
I
be.
wish she was. I mean, if you can get this to her, we'd be really thankful. But you can say whatever shit you want. No one's listening.
No listening period.
Mindy Kaling's not listening. Don't say that.
This will be heard by guys in and around bagel shop only. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Where do you generally consume do you watch a majority of your content only at home? Like, do you prefer watching it at home? Do you watch a lot of it on set, or do you watch it when you're traveling?
No, definitely at home.
At home?
Yeah. We consume at home for sure.
Okay. Can't, of course, wrap up without asking you, if you had to recommend to our viewers, or listeners rather, 3 shows or 2 shows that you feel
She's still doing it.
Absolute must watch of all time.
Okay.
Your favorite show of all time, apart from Special Victims Unit
and Office.
When They See Us.
Okay.
When They See Us. Ramy.
Okay.
And Fleabag.
Ooh,
oh yeah. We did Fleabag last week. We should have had her in on that episode where we just for 40 minutes we did nothing but speak about Fleabag. and of course we spoke about
Andrew
Scott the priest.
Oh my god.
That Janice and I both have a crush on.
I'm Catholic and I'm like, I want to do a priest.
You're on it. I want to. I mean, It is very, and I know these are recent shows, and every time there's something amazing. Confession: I've never seen Game of Thrones. I think I'd love it.
In spite of being in it.
Nice one. Good catch.
You just reported to set and said, this shit won't work.
I just get the paychecks and the residuals, and sign the autographs and the fame.
It's all right. I would imagine that from a hipster sits at bagel shop as well.
I know, I love it. And I think...
And someone who pays 60 rupees for pani puris. People in small town India are like, 60 rupees mein to pura thali mil jata hum log ko.
No, I still remember my mother picking up a thong and saying, what is this? I'm like, it's panty. She's like, why would you buy this much if you can get this much in a boxer? like why would you
want less?
Yeah,
because
material.
Right.
You can get the same amount for this much. Yeah.
Kitna ye handkerchief se ban gaya hoga. I've heard my mom tell me that they probably use more cloth for a hanky than your panty. So
yeah.
But this has been so much
fun.
Where
are we going with this? What was the point that was being made? All right.
Girls doing our thing.
We're not talking about your boxers. No. Am I asking you your boxers or a briefs? Which
I
think is such a sexist question now that I think of it. But anyway, wrapping
Look,
up.
I was in France and the lifeguards can only wear thongs. Or they can only wear...
briefs?
Whatever it is that goes up. They're not allowed to wear shorts.
Those wee ones, right? That's a swimming trunk. That's actually what most swimming... We don't wear the right swimming trunks. If you're actually a professional swimmer, like Michael Phelps ain't wearing those baggy boxers and whatever.
But when you're like, there's a lot going on in France. I mean, there's a lot to see in France. There's a lot hanging out.
Janice is right now combining those French men with Andrew Scott in her head.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Anyway, this was so much fun, Poorna. Thanks you so
for
much.
letting me be the first guest.
Yeah, that was amazing.
All right, thank you so much, Poorna, for joining us. And for those of you listening, Season 1 and all episodes of Season 2 that have currently aired are already on Hotstar. And it also begins airing on Star World this September. And if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out our other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us now on our social media handles. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me or to Aniruddha, I'm at JaniceSec85 on Twitter and Instagram. And Aniruddha is at Aniguha on Twitter and Instagram. This was a really, really special and fun episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Do let us know in the comments or on social media. We always look forward to your feedback. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Think fast. If I tell you I'm Parsi, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Dhansak. I don't blame you. My name is Perzan Patel. You may know me as the Bhavi Bride. Though I run a popular Parsi food blog, the truth is I didn't know anything about Parsi food until I got married. It was just my luck. He turned out to be your typical sadralega wearing, kawab khari eating Parsi boy. And the only thing I knew was dhansak, or rather, how to eat it. But there's more to Parsi food than dhansak. And there is more to us than our obsession with eggs and our legendary Rani cafes. Welcome to Not Just Dhansak, a fresh new show where I talk to friends, fellow Babas and Parsi entrepreneurs about all things Bhonu, a little bit of history, a dash of Baba madness, and a lot of food talk. There's more to Parsis than meets the eye, and there's certainly more to us than Dhansak. Join me every Tuesday as I talk to some of my favorite Parsis in the food space in India and beyond. I am the Bhavi Bride, and this is Not Just Dhansak.
Every week comes a show where three people come together to tell you about stuff they like. A movie, a TV show, a book, and other stuff. Tune in every Monday on the IVM Podcast app to IVM Likes. Batman approves this message. Thank you, Batman.